Hey, if you want to speedrun your homestead to level 9 or 10 without grieving yourself or your own progression, or getting completely lost along the way, you're in the right place. Today I'm going to give you the ultimate blueprint for the homestead system in wherewindsmeet. We're going to cover exactly how to unlock your homestead and the cloud rest passage. From there I'll break down retainer upgrade priorities so you aren't wasting resources, how to knock out your weekly orders, and the most efficient ways to handle farming and catering. Okay? Finally, we'll go over the best strategies for managing your gourds, rather. This is the currency system in Homestead, and then we'll go over maximizing your prosperity to level up your base as quickly as possible. Okay, let's get right into it. Okay, so to unlock your homestead, you have to come to this menu, and then you click on Homestead. But then when you try and view Homestead, it tells you to complete an exploration quest. Okay, so to find the exploration quest, you go to your quest menu, exploration, and then you have to look for a quest called Where Bamboos Remember. Okay, so when you go to the quest, you just have to follow the story, and then once done, your homestead will be unlocked. Okay, let's talk about retainers. Think of them as your homestead's workforce. They manage your industries, craft your items, and keep your production lines moving while you're out exploring, playing PvP, or doing some girl stuff. When it comes to assigning them, you want to prioritize your foundational industries first. Focus heavily on leveling your retainers that gather ores. This is because ore will become the absolute biggest bottleneck to your production lines. At the moment, as you can see, I only have 2 lines running to produce kiln. This is because as soon as I try to run a third, the consumption rate for ore will far exceed the output efficiency. So when left unnoticed, you will eventually run out of materials. Now this is fine if you're willing to come to your warehouse and deposit some of your open world inventory to your homestead, although it is important to note there's a weekly limit. So as you can see, 2 lines is more than sufficient to run 4 lines at Aroma's brewery. When you're at the lower homestead level, you don't really have to worry too much until you're like, I think level 5 or 6, okay? But you really don't need to run more than 2 unless you're really trying to speed run either your weekly orders, yeah, mainly your weekly orders. Like everything else, like for catering, it doesn't matter too much, okay? So as you're starting out, I will try and get these retainers to level 5 as quickly as possible, because that will be the biggest jump in efficiency when they learn a new martial art. When they learn a new mystic skill, okay? Now there's the quest that gives you a little bit of bounty gourds. The more retainers you have that have acquired mystic skills, I wouldn't focus on this at all really to start with, okay? Because only like one or 2,000. It don't matter too much, okay? So after you focus on the stone local specialty, I would focus on porcelain kiln to craft wine jugs and the aromas brewery to supply your tavern. Wine will be your biggest moneymaker, as you can see. When we come to the tavern and you hover over the wine, you will see the prices. There's the trade for profit price and the in-unit sale price. Every week there will be 1 dish and 1 wine with boosted sale prices. This will be the same level as your homestead level, your tavern, and they refresh 4 hours after the weekly reset. Here we can see that wine nets you quite a bit more profit than the dishes do, so it is important to try and fit these into as many catering lines as you can. To start with, you should try and follow the recommended plan here on the left, which is for me 3 lines to cater dishes and 5 lines to cater wine. Once you have your retainers leveled up, you're able to replace one of these lines used for catering dishes to cater wine instead. And this will net you noticeable profit too. Lastly, it is important to level up your forestry, because wood will be needed quite a lot if you want to build in your homestead. So just one last time on screen, the order of prioritization is mining, kiln, brewing wine, catering, chopping wood, cooking, and then lastly would be hunting and fishing. Now to recruit retainers, you come to this menu, click on recruit, and you can see all the options we have. For the confidence, it's important to note that the best way to expand your workforce fast is to choose Shen Yu, because she brings Zhao Xi along, okay? And giving 2 retainers for the price of 1. The Zhang brothers also are an incredible pick, since you get 3 workers for a single choice. For the mortals, I would prioritize going with those that have an innate skill first, so you can save on some of the artisan's manual to upgrade your retainer's level rather than to make them acquire new skills. The artisan's manual can be found in the homestead shop. It is important to buy these weekly because the only other way to get them is through the weekly Young Masters routine. The Young Masters routine are 9 sets of quests you can do weekly, and it will be your main source of golden grain and the artisan's manuals. Okay, these are your upgrade materials. So as we come to the first quest, you can see that there's 3 different options. Here you have to note that teaching martial arts is a really good option that allows you to level up the skill of your retainers. Though if you choose this instead of recruit talents, then you're unable to recruit any more talents during this week. Okay, so just to stress, if you want to recruit more talents, you have to pick it at the very first step. Otherwise, it's not going to return to you on different days, okay? I had to learn the hard way because I was a little bit greedy. I wanted more EXP for my retainers. So I chose upgrade talents, martial arts. And then I was waiting for recruit talents to come back, but it never came back in day 2 or 3. Okay, so you absolutely have to pick this one as your first step.
What should I do?
So as we go through the day in the life as a young master, you have to make sure that you read the options, because some of the options actually give buffs to your production lines, as you can see here. So it is important to read the different options so you're not choosing, Miami challenge where you can actually do something that benefits your industry. Okay. The one I've chosen right here, it pretty much cuts the production line where I make wine in half, which is really good at the current point I'm at. Even though it is a small buff, but it stacks up every week. Okay, so it is still pretty good to do. Now let's talk about teaching martial arts. This, in my opinion, I think is the best one out of all the different options. So whenever you see this, you have to make sure to choose it, okay? It is really good, especially early on, because it allows you to teach people the martial arts that haven't learned the skill yet, okay? And the XP you get from it is actually it's like 1,000 XP, which is a few artisan manual, but it's the fact that you can teach 8 people at the same time, 8 retainers. It just, honestly, I think it's great. It is so good. Bounty Gourds, as you can see here, are the main currency for your homestead. They are used to upgrade your industries, purchase seeds for your farm, to buy furniture, to raise your homestead's prosperity, and then finally to level up your homesteads. The main ways to obtain these are through catering, which I have explained, through Young Master's routine, through your weekly orders, and trade for profit. To first obtain your weekly orders, you have to reach homestead level 4. And then when we come to Old Jin in Kingha and draw vessels, it will then bring you to a new menu with 5 different orders which you need to complete before weekly reset. I do have a spreadsheet that people can use, so it's easier to track what materials each dish needs and how long it will take to farm and things of that nature. I will link it in the description of the video. Ojin will also be where you need to go to trade the items you have farmed for profit if it can't or hasn't been catered. Okay? It is important to do this whenever you can because it is a very good source of bounty gourds. And once you reach Homestead level 8 or 9, it is also very easy to hit the weekly cap. Not many people know this actually. Even some people that I spoke to that are level 10, they haven't hit the weekly cap yet, or they haven't sold enough to hit the weekly cap. So if you really want to speed run to the next level and just need a little bit more bounty guard, then this will often be the difference maker. Okay. For lower levels, if you absolutely have to sell everything to get another bounty guard to level up your homestead, 9 out of 10 times I will say that it is absolutely worth it. Okay. Although it is important to understand how to bounce back since you may not have anything to cater right away, and when everything is gonna be red, it might even like deter you from even like trying to put everything together again. You feel me? So what I would do if you do sell everything, I would simply focus on your farm first, then focus on wine, focus on the jugs and cups, and then catering last. Okay, just make sure that you have the materials needed for your weekly orders and the materials needed for the dish and the wine that is boosted during your week. Okay, that's the most important thing. Now, if you do want to, sell a lot for profit, then I'll just be cautious not to sell your imported materials first. Okay, so whatever materials take 12 hours to farm, I'll consider those last. Your ore, your raw ore and your special ore, I'll consider those last. Of course, your wood, or very precious resources, like things of that nature, I'll consider last, okay? Everything else, you're okay to sell. If you upgrade your homestead before the end of the week, it is important to still cater the dishes that have increased in-house sale prices, even though you're able to cater and produce the higher level dishes. Okay. You can, however, prepare the following week's weekly orders in advance, because most of the times you only need 1 or 2 queues to maintain the output's cooking efficiency for your catering lines. Okay. Now, if you really want to min-max your bounty guards, then I would not spend anything on the crane retreat, because it is expensive, and when starting out, you won't have any retainers here recovering bigger anyway. And it is best to just feed them with the dishes that your retainers cook. Okay, so if you come to this menu, turn on auto ads. I said auto ads recover at auto vigor, whatever it's called, at 31%. Because once vigor goes below 30%, the work rate of your retainers will go down. Once you unlock your first farm, you won't have it automated until homestead level 5. It is important to water and to fertilize your land, because watering increases the crop growth speed by about 20%, which directly cuts down the time needed to farm crops, while fertilizing increases your harvest by 10%. Both of them are very important. Once you do have them automated, you just got to come to this menu, and then it's important to know that you have to buy time. Otherwise, it won't do anything, okay? You can pretty much buy infinite time as long as you keep spending bounty guards. Then make sure the amount of seed and the amount of fertilizers are equal. Okay? That's the only important. Also, once you unlock your first auto farm, it is best to use the auto farm to farm the 3-hour seeds, and then the plots that do not have the auto farm yet to farm the 12-hour seeds. This reduces the time you need to log in and check up on your farm. So the 3-hour seeds will also give you more bounty guards perpendicular to the time spent. Next, I want to say that it is also important to watch the status of your materials. So when you come to this menu, it will tell you the abnormal production status, which is when the materials that you're using are about to run out. Okay, so it's important to keep on top of what is being used. Especially, you really do not want your wine to be running out of materials. Okay, so make sure those are always in abundance. Because, as I said before, wine are your main source of money. Okay, so prosperity can be seen as the EXP for your homestead. It is gained by placing homestead buildings and facilities at either the Blissful Retreat or the Cloud Rest Passage. These items can be bought at the homestead shop. So if you come to the furniture section, you will see a lot of options. I will explain the most efficient way to increase your prosperity. Each building component will cost bounty gourds and have prosperity. The components that cost 100 bounty gourds have the best gourd to prosperity ratio. That's what I like to call it. Gourd to prosperity ratio. While those are more expensive have a more expensive ratio. Okay. So the medical kits, the rainbow resort, the wall mounted lamp, and the bamboo 1 and 2 will be your best ways to gain prosperity. You can either focus to only get these until your homestead reaches level 10, or when the new homestead updates overhaul to the building system comes. So you can kind of decide what you want to do, okay? Or you can buy components from blueprints that you think that you may want for the future and place them in advance until you finally get your shit together. Okay. So what I did a mixture of both. Okay. I looked at blueprints that I liked, clicked on few view details, and then purchased some of the components, even though I may not have been ready yet to use this or that blueprint. Okay. So using both methods, you can kind of get your prosperity up. Okay, you can only. The thing is that the blueprint method is going to be more expensive, but in the long term, you're still already kind of buying what you're going to use anyway. So it's not really a waste of gourds. Okay. Also, you might be thinking, okay, but why am I buying like 600, 500? Why am I buying so many these medical kits if I'm not gonna want to use them once I finally get to building? But let me tell you something. You're able to dismantle whatever you bought and you can get the gourds back. So this might even be a great way to speed run and then sell. And then if you're out of money, you can sell some of it back. And then once you start getting a little bit more bread, then you can just buy it back. If you know what I'm saying? Or maybe once you reach homestead level 10, you can just recycle whatever you don't need at all, and then buy whatever you do need. Now let's talk about blueprints. For those that are like me and are incapable of interior or exterior design, we have to leech of other people's work and talent. So to place a blueprint in the beyond mundane, you have to make sure that you have no industries still in the blissful retreat, and that you have the homestead level requirement for the blueprint, which you can see if you click on obtain components. And if there are any components that you're unable to purchase, then that means that you haven't reached the level requirement yet, okay? And it should tell you if you click on the component. Now here I'm going to give you guys an example of me trying to upgrade my homestead from level 9 to 10. So as we can see here, I'm about 2,000 prosperity away from the required amount to be able to upgrade my homestead to level 10. In addition, I also need 40,000 bounty gourds. So first we're going to come to the homestead shop, and because I've already bought all the items with the best gourd to prosperity ratio, I thought, okay, let me go and look at some blueprints and see if there's any components that I might like. So here you see me looking through blueprints, and then I'm looking through the components, and then I'm going back to the homestead shop and buying the components according to what blueprints it was. Okay. Now I want you guys to remember the gourd to prosperity ratio that I mentioned before. So we're going to focus on the items that are about 150, 200, and 250 bounty gourds because they have the same gourd to prosperity ratio. So these are going to be your most valuable after you already bought all the ones that cost 100 bounty gourds. So after I bought all the components for my prosperity, we're going to come back to our Beyond Mundane, press on builds, and then we're going to place all the items in a random location or a dedicated location. So once we've reached the required prosperity, we can come back to our good friend Old Jin and try trade anything we can for profit so we can acquire the necessary bounty cards to finally level up our homestead to the next level. Okay, and right here I'm going through all my items. I'm trying to sort which I'm willing to sell and which I'm not quite willing to sell. If I have to sell everything, then I likely would, or I might wait a day or two. If I have time before weekly reset. But for me, it would be better for me to wait a couple days, so I would be in a better position. But for the sake of the tutorial, yeah, I'm gonna sell the majority of what I have. That's it. I'm not gonna sell any of my timber, any of my ore, because those are really hard. I think I do end up selling some of my ore, but I really do not want to sell any timber because it takes a long time to farm those. Okay. And now that we have enough bounty gourds, we're gonna upgrade our homestead to level 10, and we're gonna try to see what we can prioritize. Okay, so honestly, at first we're gonna upgrade our inn so we can get 4 new dishes. These are important for the weekly orders, and then I'm gonna upgrade the porcelain kiln so we can already start pre-farming the vases for our weekly orders. Those 2 things are gonna be most important each time you upgrade your homestead. And then the aromas brewery for wine can be the third, can be last, because you're still gonna be making your current wine until the weekly reset, so you don't have to worry too much about that for the moment. Although with the dishes, you can already start pre-farming the dishes for the following week. But for wine, you can just wait until Monday reset. Okay. And that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them. I also have my Discord in the description, so you can join if you will, if you fancy. Right? Next, I do want to mention that I'm planning to put a lot more PvP content out. I'm planning to make a gauntlet counter guide. I'm planning to make some videos about common mistakes that I see a lot of people make that is stopping them from reaching a higher level. Things of that nature. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.